So Anu, if you could do the invocation, we can get started. Sahana Bhavatu.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu, and welcome back, everybody. So we covered all the verses of chapter 4 as of last week. So today I thought we will just do a quick recap of that entire chapter. And specifically, if you have any questions, we can definitely discuss about that. And from next week onwards, we can go to the next chapter, which is chapter 5. So, a quick summary of the entire chapter. Just keep in mind the context of the Gita. The first chapter of the Gita gave us the problem statement. Why do we need Gita? A person who is struggling to face the situation of the life is presented to us. Mind you, this person has all the skills in his field. But when the situational pressure comes, he finds it difficult to navigate through the challenges, and he became completely helpless. So, how to live an effective and efficient life in this world? Forget about heaven and everything else. So that's the first problem. And the second thing is, what exactly is the ideal solution? Knowing which I can, of course, I can progress in my spiritual path, but not contrary to the life here. So I need to get a lifestyle, or I need to get a set of practices which helps me to function effectively here and now. At the very same time, I should progress. This is the solution of the Gita. And the context is set in chapter 1. And chapter 2, we got the entire summary of the Bhagavad Gita. So the entire summary of the Bhagavad Gita is very simple. There are two topics mainly. One is, who are you? What is the reality of this universe? And how do you know yourself? So that is called Brahma Vidya, or the knowledge about the Brahman, the knowledge about the Atman, the knowledge, the truth about yourself. And the second topic is, what exactly is the practices which helps me to be efficient and effective in this world? At the very same time, these practices should take me closer to that truth. So these are the two topics. One is Brahma Vidya, the other one is Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya is the knowledge about myself. The universe means the absolute reality and my connection with these two. Tattvamasi. And Yoga Shastra, to be very specific, there are two subsets. One is called Karma Yoga. The other one is Upasana Yoga. Karma Yoga is for the purification of the mind. Upasana Yoga is for the stabilization of the mind. And when I gain a pure and a stable mind, this knowledge will become an experiential reality. So this is the whole summary of the second chapter. And the beauty, and the third chapter mainly focused on the Karma Yoga part. What is Karma Yoga? That is very well explained It is a proper work with a proper attitude. That is the Karma Yoga. What is that proper work? The work which are not tamasic. Tamasic means I am the beneficiary, but I am violating the rules. I am violating dharma. So that kind of work actions are known as tamasic action. Rajasic action means I am not violating the rules of dharma, but still I am the only beneficiary. Swati karma is I am not violating the rules of dharma, and along with me, other people are also beneficiary. That is sattvic karma. So Karma Yoga tells the proper work should avoid tamasic karma. You can do the rajasic karma, but you must include swati karma, at least a few swati karma. What exactly they are? Yajñarthva karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhinaha. Tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samajara. Perform karma as yajna. That is what is the swati karma. So that is given. Along with that, we need to follow an attitude. What is that attitude? Ishwara arpana buddhi, prasada buddhi. When whatever actions I do, offer that as, means put that as an offering to Ishwara, and whatever results I get that as a prasada. This is the Karma Yoga. Now we went into the fourth chapter. Fourth chapter introduced, means there are four topics we covered in the fourth chapter, if you remember. The first topic was called Vamsha Kathanam. That was the first topic. Vamsha Kathanam. Vamsha Kathanam means the lineage of the Gita, which is covered from verse 1 to 3. And then from verse 4 to 11, the second topic, which is the topic on the Avatara. And the third topic was again the nature of karma, and the karma sannyasa is explained. That is from verse 12 to 23. We covered that. And then what exactly is the yajna? Because we said you need to do karmas as yajna. And what is the scope of this yajna? Is that just limited to certain spiritual or religious activities? To remove any doubt, Krishna took a lot of time from verse 24 to 32 and elaborated 12 sample yajnas, which covers almost all the domain of the scope of work we do in the world outside. And finally, the last topic covered in the chapter was knowledge, because ultimately what liberates us is knowledge. So what is that knowledge? The benefit of that knowledge, all that is explained. What should be the attitude I should be using for gaining that knowledge? And what is the benefit of that knowledge? All that is explained. So fourth chapter has four topics. Four topics are there in the fourth chapter. So just quickly see each of these topics. What is Vamsha Kathana? The lineage of the Gita. So if you really listen to this Karma Yoga of the third chapter and the second chapter, it appears to be a revolutionary topic. There are, like, typically some religious people may get scared when they read Karma Yoga. Karmendriyani samyamya yayaste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharasya uchyate. These are the language used in the third chapter. The fellow who sits his eyes and close his eyes and just sit as if meditating and thinking about the sense objects, this fellow is known as Vimudha, a special kind of fool, and he is a hypocrite. That is what Krishna said. Whereas a person who works on the field, sweating and toiling, but with an attitude of karma, karma yoga, he is savishishyate. He is much better than a fool who is sitting in the temple 24/7, but his mind is thinking about sense objects. A conventional religious person may get scared by seeing all these type of revolutionary teachings. And also, there are so many, out of conventional teachings in that Karma Yoga. And he said, right, it need not be the religious action. A secular action can also be a worship of Ishvara. And what is the real thanksgiving, right? Be sensitive to the other humanity. Beautiful ideas. Saha yajna praja srishtva puruvacha prajapatihi. The whole world is running because of this yajna. Devan bhavayatanena to te devan bhav. You have to be coexisting with the natural forces. You propitiate them, they propitiate you. The person who takes his profit without sharing with others, he is known as a thief. Those type of teaching came forward. And naturally, Arjuna may think that, oh, this is not a conventional religious teaching. This is a teaching Krishna might have invented. This is Mr. Krishna's teaching. To remove any such doubt, the Vamsha Kathanam was given. He said, this teaching which I gave you, which is about the fundamental teachings of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, this teaching is nothing new. This teaching was given at the beginning of the manifestation of the universe. In other words, this teaching is programmed into this universe. You could see this teaching everywhere. Imam vivaswate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivaswan manave praha manuruchvahave bravit, right? And he said, this is there given to sun god, meaning symbolically what? It is there programmed into the intelligent order of the universe right from the beginning. And this teaching, the sages knew this. And what happened? This teaching was handed over from generation to generation, from one sage to the other. But what happens? Anything over a period of time get distorted. Kalena mahata yogo nashta parantapaha. If you remember that verse, he said, as time passes by, what happened? The teachers becomes corrupt. Two words Shankaracharya used, right? One is the one who do not have control over their sense organs, meaning they know, but they cannot practice. Second thing is people without knowledge. Such people, when they teach, the teaching gets corrupted. So naturally, so that is the Vamsha Kathanam. The Vamsha Kathanam, the goal of the Vamsha Kathanam was to make sure that this revolutionary teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which appears to be different from the conventional religious teaching, it is nothing new. It is the original Vedic teaching. There is a technical reason also for this. In ancient India, what is Astika? Or it was not belief in God. It was belief in Veda. Every teaching, because Vedas were considered as the ultimate authority. So if a teaching is not aligned with the Veda, it won't be considered as Astika tradition. So that's why, even though Lord Buddha's teaching, 90% it is same as that of the Vedic teaching, it is not considered as a Vedic teaching. Anyway, that's all scholarly comments, but Krishna wanted to make sure that I haven't invented anything new. I was just reinterpreting the original teaching for the time. That created a question in Arjuna. Arjuna said, it seems you are my contemporary. How can you teach this at the beginning of the creation? That's the time a tangent was taken and Krishna introduced the concept of avatara. So that is the second topic of this fourth chapter. We spend a lot of time. What is avatara? Avatara means, I always refer to this whenever I think about avatara. Swami Vivekananda's words, there is no way you can define the avatara better than this. He said, whenever this universe of ours needs an adjustment, so brilliantly put out. This is, you can refer the talk, My Master. In that beginning, he introduces this concept called avatara. Whenever this universe of ours needs an adjustment, maybe due to some changed circumstances, or maybe due to some new scenarios, or maybe something got broken. If an adjustment needs to happen, what happens? The divine will manifest to do that adjustment. And what is that balance or the harmony that keeps the universe intact? That is called dharma. The natural order of the universe is known as dharma. And when the dharma goes beyond a threshold, there has to be some adjustment. We don't know what is that adjustment. That adjustment, for that adjustment, the universal intelligence will manifest into this world. And that is what is called avatara. So there is a difference between this avatara, the birth of an avatara, and birth of people like us, called the jiva. We had a lengthy analysis. What is the reason for my birth or your birth or any jiva's birth? It is my karma. It is because of my prarabdha karma. I was born into this body. I was born with certain skills. I was born among you people. I was born with, means whatever is my karma, that determined by my prarabdha. Whereas in the case of avatara, did avatara had any karma? No. So it's his will. That is why coming down. Swami Vivekananda again brilliantly explains this. For me and you, it's like we fall into a pond by accident. So somebody else jumped into the pond to save you. So the divine intelligence, out of that infinite love for the universe, it manifests out of his own will or her own will, because it's neutral gender, to adjust the universal order. And this is avatara. Yatha yathahi dharmasya glanir bhavadi bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. Second difference. The jivas, they are not liberated when they are born. The very fact that they are born means they are not yet liberated. Yes, they may get liberated in that lifetime by gaining knowledge, but at the time of birth, they are not liberated. Whereas an avatara is always liberated right from the birth. So this is why you see in Bhagavatam and Ramayana and all, when Rama was born in front of Kausalya, there is a description. If you read Ramayana, Mahavishnu was there. There is a Kausalya Stuti is there. So he knew who he is. That's the difference. Whereas a jiva thinks that he is the body mind, whereas avatara knows his true nature right from the beginning. That is second. Third one is a technical one. The body of the jiva is Panchabhuta, whereas the avatara, it's called Mayika Shariram. From Maya, it directly comes in. So sometimes the body of the avatara need not go through the usual material transformations. This is a matter of faith. We don't have to believe it. It's only just for the completeness sake, I just said. So these are some of the major difference between Jiva and Avatara. And Krishna said, this is the first time Krishna reveals his identity in the Gita. I am the Lord of the universe. I'm not a self-realized master. I knew who I am at the time of my birth. So that is very well evident. So after giving the avatara, he goes to the third topic. Oh, I said 4 topics. There are 5 topics. Sorry. The first is Vamsha Kathanam. Second one is the Avatara Vada. The third one is Karma. So, but before getting into the karma, he tells this karma is very complicated. Why do you need to do karma? He said, if you know the Ishvara, or if you know yourself, you will be liberated. But how do you know Ishvara? How do you know yourself? You have to interact with the world. You have to do karma. And if you don't understand this karma properly, it's going to be very problematic. He said, karmanohyavi bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, akarmanohyapi bodhavyam, gahanat karmanagadi. If you don't do the karmas properly, it can bind you. And if you do the karma properly, it can liberate you. So this art of performing karma, you can see, right? You have, Arjuna had steered the discussion away from the topic of karma yoga. But immediately after answering the avatara, Krishna just came back to the karma yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita, you see this. Everywhere, any questions divert the topic, Krishna will take this back to yoga. That's why more than 150 times the word yoga is called out in the Bhagavad Gita. So karma yoga, the art of performing action. Action is inevitable. So he introduced, right, actionless action. Ultimate stage of action is actionlessness. But this word actionlessness is always confusing. People, karma sannyasa, means let's use the Sanskrit term, karma sannyasa. What is, people think that, okay, I will stop working. That's not what he meant. He said, when you gain the highest knowledge, you will realize something. What exactly you will realize? There is action, but where exactly the action belongs to? The action belongs to your body and the mind. You are different from the body and the mind. When you shift your identity from the body and mind to the Atma, you feel that you're acting, but you're not acting. Shankaracharya gives the brilliant example of Swapna Drishtanta. In the dream, I'm working hard. I'm writing, preparing for an exam. I'm preparing for day and night. I'm sitting up to 1 o'clock, getting up at 4 o'clock, studying and everything. Am I acting? Absolutely. But when I woke up in the morning, I realized the trueness, the reality of that dream. Still, I will say that somebody acted. The dream body acted, not me. So when you realize that you are the Atma, you will continue to work hard, even harder. But you know that I am Atma and the Atma is not acting. In the presence of Atma, my body is acting. Right now, I know that this computer is working. The computer is telecasting everything and recording everything. But it is my computer is doing the work. I am enabling the computer to do that. In my presence only the computer is working, but the work is done by the computer and I am different from that computer. So in my presence, in Atma's presence, the body function, it does everything. But I am not confined to that body or mind or that action. I am much bigger than that. The actions in the dream, my scope is much beyond that. The lottery I win in the dream is not going to solve my problem in the waking world. So I have a different order of reality. And when I realize that, Krishna, the verse 18 of this chapter, a brilliant verse was given. Karmani akarmani pashyait, akarmaniya akarmani cha karmayat. Such a person will see action in inaction. He will see action in the Atma. And then he see in the extremely dynamic body and the mind, he see the inaction of the Atma. So understand that the body, the mind, the senses, everything is dynamic and it has to be dynamic. You cannot sit idle. You have to work hard. At the very same time, the Atma, which is behind the body and the mind, it is actionless. The electricity doesn't mean appear to be acting. The fan is running. But without the presence of electricity, nothing will happen to the fan. So that's the difference. So when we say actionlessness, karma sannyasaha, it is through knowledge, not the physical renunciation of action. That is why this chapter is named as Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. The karma sannyasa is through knowledge, not by physically renouncing the action. A lot of people, before Shankaracharya, they thought that karma sannyasa means you have to stop working. It's so funny, like the way Shankaracharya comments is, this is if that is the case, this is the most idiotic advice given by an idiot to a bunch of idiots. That's the English translation of his thing. No, that's not what it meant. So karma is inevitable. What we need is intelligent karma. I see an ad or a management quote very recently. It's a Shankaracharya's commentaries English translation. You need to work smart. See, that's the new style of work, right? One fellow said that I'm working hard 24/7. Is that matter, or working smart and creating better output is smarter? So work smart, work intelligently, and this is what is karma yoga. So if that is karma yoga, naturally everybody may ask, what is the domain in which I can apply this karma yoga? Is that only the spiritual actions? So if that is the case, if it is in this country, only Sunday you will be karma yogi, the next 6 days you will be secular. In order to avoid this doubt, Krishna introduced this concept of yajna. What is this yajna? The conventional Vedic yajna is a fire ritual. And what is that fire ritual? We need to understand. It's a symbolic representation of an action, worldly action. That's it. It is a symbolic representation of a worldly action. A worldly action, there is an agent of the action, there is a tool of the action, there is something you will put into the action, and you will get something out of the action. So you can consider anything and everything you do in the world as a yajna. How to illustrate this? He took 12 examples. Right from your eating, to your praying, to your studying of the scriptures, to your Ashtanga yoga, to your pranayama. So he took 12 samples to demonstrate that any actions I do in the world can be converted as a yajna. So some rules are given. And if you remember our class at that point of time, what I said is, if you follow this rule for a week, you will be a saint. Instantaneous transition. So one commentator, I forgot who it is, he gave a beautiful example or a symbolic way of putting it. Imagine that Lord Shiva is your father and Mother Parvati is your mother. All your actions are your worship. So do this. Don't do anything which you cannot present in front of your Divine Father. So apply that simple rule to your day of life. I still remember when we starting the Bhagavad Gita, somebody was telling me, 80% of the action I do is to feed my family or to take care of myself. So let's say that I work for a company. Going to that company, legitimately working, earning the money. Will you be ashamed to show that to your father? Absolutely not. So that belongs to the yajna. You eating your food, it's perfectly fine. So as long as you follow the simple rule, if you are not violating dharma consciously or unknowingly, it doesn't matter. If you're consciously not violating the dharma, that action can be converted into a yajna, whether it is rajasic or a swatik action. So the yajna idea, Panchamaha yajna, which we started discussing in the 3rd chapter, is elaborated into, it is expanded into every walk of our life. Every walk of our life. This is the brilliancy of the Gita. So any actions I do can technically be converted into this yajna, and that yajna is going to give me the purity of the mind and stability of the mind. So 12 yajnas were explained. Again, we started with Vamsha Kathanam. Then we moved on to Avatara. Then we moved on to Karma. And then we moved on to this yajna. And then finally, the last topic. Out of all these yajnas, what is the most highest yajna? It's not a grading, but it says that this is the end. You cannot say that PhD, you cannot go to PhD before 10th grade. So what is that ultimate end, the last leap? Krishna said, only knowledge. Shreyan Dravyamaya Yajnam Jnana Yajna Parantapaha. Because only knowledge can liberate you. See, even we studied the Yoga Sutra, even that yoga approach, ultimately you have to see yourself and understand it. There is nothing else. Only knowledge. If ignorance is the problem, only knowledge can reveal the truth. So, nahi jnanena sadrishyam pavitramiha vidyate. Know that there is no purifier like knowledge. When you have that sufficient knowledge, Krishna said, all the bondage of karma will burn like the wood gets burned in a fire. So we joked, if the fire is not kindled properly, what happens? Instead of fire burning the wood will put out the fire. That's the problem. So then he said, how to approach this knowledge? Shraddhavan labhate jnana. First thing is you need to have the faith. And we had a long discussion at that point of time. Faith is not an end goal. A lot of religions and traditions and people think that faith is the end goal. Vedanta, faith is a tool to lead us to knowledge. That faith has to be reinforced by knowledge. Otherwise, it is not valuable in Vedanta. Then, 3 things. One is Shraddha, Tatpara. Tatpara means you have to have commitment. You have to put effort. If I say that I believe in Veda, or I believe in physics, or I believe in machine learning, but if I don't study, it won't help us. So you have to put effort, committed effort. And the third one is what? You need to have some discipline. Even if I'm committed, so that is why samyaka indriya. So these three qualities. And that type of committed effort is going to give you that knowledge about the yourself, not a theoretical knowledge, a knowledge that is in your direct experience. And once you get it, leptva jnanem, what do you say? Param Shanti. When you get knowledge, you get that Param Shanti, the ultimate peace, ultimate Shanti. The Bible say, right? The peace that passed all understanding. That peace you get. Achirena adhigachati. So therefore, Krishna said, you get up. That is the final verse of the 4th chapter. You get up and start doing yoga, not the knowledge. Remove your doubt and start practicing this karma yoga, because that is the starting point. This is a very high-level summary of this chapter. One more topic we wanted to introduce, which is not directly connected with this chapter, but Krishna used that as an example, which created all the controversies. In fact, we spent one whole day for that controversial topic, which was Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. You might have seen people quoting this verse left and right to criticize Gita. Not intellectually honest. If they were honest, they would have quoted along with Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam, second portion, but deliberately omitting the second portion. So, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Chaturvarnyam is not something that happens by birth. It is only with your guna and karma. And then another thing is, there is no gradation. You cannot say that somebody is higher, somebody is lower. It is only to determine the type of sadhana you need to perform. That's all. And varna is color. Color means in Sankhya philosophy or Sankhya Darshana, this sattva, rajas, tamas are represented as using 3 colors. When we studied the Yoga Sutra, we saw that. That is why the word varna came in. It is not the skin color, as some people say. If it was skin color, Krishna is dark. And if it is by birth, Krishna is a Yadava. And Vatmiki is a tribal, which falls out of these 4 categories, you can understand. Even now, Vatmiki is there as a caste. They get reservation in India. So these are all wrong propaganda. Both sides. Some people use this as a means to abuse and control people, which marked the degradation of our culture. So it is ridiculously bad. Actually, in Malayalam, there is a beautiful book. If anybody is interested to read, there was a saint in Kerala called Chattambi Swami. He was a very well-known scholar and a teacher of Advaita Vedanta. He wrote a book, Veda Adhikara Nirupanam. Veda Adhikara Nirupanam. English version is there, I believe. Vedadhikara Nirupanam is a logical analysis. Who has Adhikara on Veda? Quoting the Vedic scriptures, he proves that everybody has equal right. So these type of propagandas we should not believe. So this is the summary of the 4th chapter. Any questions? This is such a beautiful chapter again, because for me, the greatness of this chapter is the revolutionary teachings of those 12 yajna. That's the beauty. It just tells me that anything I do. So imagine this. People think that with a half-hearted mind, when I go to the temple chanting Vishnu Sahasranama mindlessly, go to any of this temple, just to, not to criticize, but just observe how the priest is chanting Vishnu Sahasranama. People are sitting around him. Just think what people are doing. Somebody will text, somebody will talk. Vijay, you know, right? The Satyanarayana Puja, especially in the Telugu community. It's a social gathering, usually. Of course, exceptions are there. Usually it becomes a social gathering. Priest will do the Satyanarayana Puja. Everybody will talk and chit-chat. At the end, when all these kathas are over, you come and do this. Is that better? Or Krishna tells, I am committed, I am doing with Ishwararpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi, working on a field. This is the question this chapter posing. That doesn't mean that the upasana is not bad, but you have to be mindful. Ishwararpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi will not come mindlessly. You have to be mindful. So it takes away the conventional belief that only certain labeled tasks are spiritual, certain labeled tasks are secular. And these two things will not coexist. That's why even the church and they say, right? Yeah, it's for us, everything is spiritual. Eating my food is spiritual. Breathing is spiritual. Everything is spiritual, proper thing. And if something is not spiritual, that is not within the dignity of a human being. Such actions. Cheating another fellow, killing another person, doing something illegal. Is that the dignity of a human being to do that? So that's what the most revolutionary teaching of this chapter. A lot of time, this chapter is read without giving that focused thinking of that yajnas. So please think through that. It is not a topic that just needs to be read and passed away. It needs to be understood. Okay, so now we can open it up. Any questions, anything everybody wants to listen or discuss?
Yes, Rajesh.
Yes, Rohitji.
Question, those three things that you mentioned, Shraddha, Tatpara, and Samyat Indriya. What are those things? What is the requirement? What are they required
for? Gaining knowledge. For gaining knowledge, you need these three.
Okay, thank you.
Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Anu, if you don't mind, can you chant that verse if you don't mind? I believe it is 39.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful verse. Everybody should try to memorize that verse. It's so important. What are all the... Forget about the spiritual knowledge. Even for secular knowledge, you need those three qualities.
Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparas samyatendriyah jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena dhigacchati.
And the second portion is also important. Jnanam gatva param shanti. The most supreme peace. That is the benefit. Shankaracharya tells beginning of the Gita, without expecting a result, even a fool will not do anything. So the benefit is immediately given. Any other questions or comments? Anything?
Rajesh ji.
Namaste, Bhunaji. Yeah.
Namaste, how are you? On this dharma violation, you said somebody who doesn't know, and if they do a mistake, it's okay. But somebody who doesn't know, that means he was never taught. Or he's not knowledgeable about the whole
thing. So yeah, that's why there's animals and all. It won't come under the consciously doing. That's what they say.
Yeah, but there are some people who does it, and they say they have been brought up like that. They were not told how to do it. So as per the Karta Bhokta rule, the Karayita is also responsible, right?
He is responsible, right? So if he does some wrong actions, of course, some effect will be there, but knowingly violating the rule, it creates a larger adrishta phala. 100%. Yeah, even the court of law, even the secular court of law, means without knowing something, means like without the intent, you will get some benefit. That type of it is. Again, how much it is going to get affected, we don't know. Better learn and try to be dharmic as much as possible. The reason I said that is sometimes what happens is a lot of people feel guilty. Oh, I did that in the past. I did this in the past. There is no hope. Krishna in a verse, he tells, right? I know if you can chant the verse 37, I believe. Can you do? The answer is given.
Yathai-dhamsi samidhogni.
No, actually, I'm wrong. I think 30.
Apichedasi papebhya.
Yeah.
Apichedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamaha sarvam jnanaplavenaiva prajinam santarishyasi.
Yeah. It tells if you are the leader of all sinners, still there is a hope. Change now. You are good. That assurance is given. So how? We had a long discussion at that point of time. How, meaning, are you saying that, let's say that I did 1,500 mistakes this time. That means I accumulated 1,500 papa karmas in my account. So now I say that tomorrow I got self-realization. Is that karma erased? No, right? What we said is, who did the papa karma? What was the identity of the papa karma? Karta. It was the jiva. When I get self-realized, what happens? My identity has shifted from jiva to atma. So I am not identifying with that. So that karma is not going to come back and bite me. That's the logic. That is the technical explanation. So dream, I won lot of lotteries and positive things. I cannot pay my debt in the waking because the order of reality has changed. Because I'm no more identifying with that dream person who won the lottery. That's another example. See, the basic dharma is your common sense. That's what the Dharma Shastra says. Mahabharata, Vyasa tells, right? What is the simple rule of dharma? I forgot the exact verse. There's a beautiful verse. Vyasa tells to Duryodhana. I think it's Duryodhana or somebody tells. This advice is given to Duryodhana. What he said. Whatever you don't want from others, don't do that to others. That's it. I'll put the Sanskrit verse. Often this is called as a quote from Bible. Of course, Bible it is there, but it is there in the Mahabharata also. Exact same quote. Whatever you don't want from others, don't do that to others. That's a simple rule of dharma. I don't want to get cheated, so please don't cheat. I don't want to get hurt, so don't hurt consciously others people. So this is the rule of dharma. And the basic dharma is common sense. Advanced dharma requires a lot of studies of Dharma Shastra, etc. But the basic dharma is common sense. Any other comments?
Don't do unto others what you would have them do unto you.
Yep, that's what it is. But there is a beautiful Sanskrit verse. I'll put that in the chat later. It's interesting. Just keep it in the mind. It's part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata has a lot of Mahabharata. Only we know Gita, right? But Mahabharata has 100,000 verses. There is Moksha Dharma Parva. That's another beautiful area. And how many of you know that Vishnu Sahasranama is part of Mahabharata? It is part of Mahabharata. Shanti Parva. Anugita is there. That is again Mahabharata.
Rajesh, you were saying that Avatara is made up of, Avatara is not with Panchabhutas, but Maya.
Okay, that's a technical thing. I'll just explain. So our body, the physical body is made up of Panchabhutas, 5 states of matter. How does the Panchabhuta came from? Means if you follow the Sankhyan metaphysics, it tells from Mula Prakriti, it comes to Sukshma Tanmatra. Sukshma Tanmatra will turn into Stula Tanmatra. That is how. So it is an evolute of the Mula Prakriti. And your body is made up of that. Whereas in the case of an avatara, it comes directly from the Mula Prakriti. So technically speaking, they say one example. Narasimha. Did the Narasimha was born as a small child? It don't follow certain rules of the nature. That's what it means. So Narasimha, when Hiranyakashipu was, of course, these are Puranic stories, so you have to take from that context. When Hiranyakashipu was breaking the, what do you call that, stamba, Narasimha was grown up when he was born. So some technical explanation is given that is not important for our spiritual progress, but just for the sake of completeness, I said. Avatara is born with Maika Sharira, whereas the Jiva is born with from Panchabhuta. That's it. But the important ones are the other two.
But Krishna,
I'm sorry.
Krishna is born like a baby only, right?
When Krishna was born, if you follow the Bhagavata, what happened? Immediately he was grown up and his body was shown. And his body was resilient. How many attacks he had to face? Shanakatasura, Trinavarta, Putana, all those people tried to attack him. Nothing happened to him. His body was Maika Sharira. If you follow the Puranic convention, right? I'm just trying to represent the Purana as it is. That is nothing to do with our spiritual progress. You have to treat the Purana from that context. So if you go with the Bhagavata story, read that first, the Dashamaskanda of the Bhagavata. It was attack after attack after attack.
How did you read all of these, Rajesh? When did you read all of this? Ramayana, Bhagavatam?
No, only selected portions. I cannot read the whole thing. Bhagavata is 18,000 verses. Ramayana is 24,000 verses. I read only one chapter, which is Dashamaskanda.
What's marveling is his able to tell it at the right time. That's marveling. His computer in his brain, I think.
Rajesh,
yeah.
What is that? Maika Shariram? What is it?
Maika Shariram means a Sharira. Maya.
Maika
Sharira.
Maika Shariram. Okay. So I have this Panchabhutas coming from Mula Prakriti to Sukshma Prakriti, right?
Yeah.
What is
Mula
it?
Prakriti.
Prakriti?
Sukshma Prakriti means you can read that from the Tattvabodha. So Tattvabodha, you
Yeah, I'm
take
doing
it.
that right now. That's
yeah. So it is there. So there is the Stula Tanmatra, right? The physical body is coming from the Stula Tanmatra. They say earth, water, air, fire, space. And then just like that, it's a model. It's an ancient model to represent the universe. Like that, they say, just like there are physical tanmatra, there are subtle tanmatra.
Correct.
Your mind is made up of that subtle tanmatra.
Correct, correct.
Intellect is made up of that subtle tanmatra. So the evolution, they say, from the Mula Prakriti to the Mahat, from the Mahat to Ahankara, Ahankara to Buddhi, Buddhi to Manas, Manas to Sukshma Tanmatra, and from there the Stula Tanmatra, from there the whole world. It's a model used by Sankhya, Sankhyan philosophy, Sankhyan metaphysics.
Yeah, because I went through the Shariratrayam whole thing, I finished. So I can understand this, but from the Mula Prakriti to Sukshma Prakriti is where I'm trying to, for example, for what do you say? Because for the
so the Sukshma Prakriti, the Sukshma Tanmatra, the example is, the best example I can think is the hardware and the software.
So I want it practical, like a world, something like that.
Yeah, that's the practical example, most practical example. So in your computer, right, you may have a hard drive weighing 2 pounds, but the data stored in that hard drive. Let's say that a blank hard disk goes there. You weigh it 2 pounds. You store the entire life of a human being, 80 years lifetime, in that hard disk. A lot of information is there. You go and weigh it. Again, 2 pounds. So, but something got added there, but it is not physical. We know that something is added there. So like that, your mind, your intelligence, it is not the brain. Brain is Sukshma Sharira, so Stula Sharira. But the mind, which is the subtle matter. Again, these are all technical aspects which is used to explain certain thing. And in our yoga or the spiritual practice, this is not important. But we are just, these are scholarly discussions. This is like understanding different aspects. It won't help us spiritually, but definitely good to understand all these points. That is why I was hesitant to even talk about this Maika Shariram and Panchabhuta. But
very helpful
for the completeness, we need to do that.
Okay. So the avataram, the other day also I had asked you this question. So born out of Mula Prakriti, but comes with the date of birth and date of expiry on that. So they also, when they come to Bhulogam, they go through all the sufferings, including Krishna.
Yeah, but they don't suffer. Their body will suffer, but they don't suffer.
Yeah.
And also that suffering, if they go through that, it is not due to their karma. For example, if I am going through a suffering, it is due to my karma. But Avatara, that is why Vivekananda's example is brilliant. If I fell down to a pond, I may suffer, but because of my action, I suffered. Whereas somebody jumping into the pond, he will also drown, right? He will also drink water, but it was his conscious decision to save me.
Is this the one? Tasma dharma pradhanena bhavitavyam yatatmana. Is that the one? Do unto to others?
No.
No?
No, it's different.
I was looking at the computer.
I shared that in that group. It's not the right one.
That's what it says.
In the WhatsApp group, it's from the.
That's what it says. I was trying to look.
I'll put that in.
It's from the Shanti Parva 167 is to 19.
Yeah, that's all.
Vidura to Yudhishthira, right?
Yep, exactly. That's all. Yep. I put a note somewhere. Anyway, I forgot it where it is. I'll pull it out and give you. Scanning through my OneNotes, but I didn't tag it. But I'll get you that. Okay. What else?
Google tells me that. That's what it says.
So, yeah, there are a few at the end of Mahabharata. Vyasa tells, I gave you all these description to convey one message: follow dharma. With folded hand, I'm telling you, follow dharma. So, following dharma, see, there is a famous verse which tells Veda Akhilo Dharma Mula. The root of the Veda is dharma. So, if the root of the Veda, Vedo Khilo Dharma Mula, that is why the root of the Veda is dharma. So, if that is the case, after compiling the Veda, after compiling all these wonderful scriptures, Vyasa was not satisfied. He wanted to illustrate this dharma through the life of some people. That's why these Puranas and Itihasas came. And what is the beauty of Rama? Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma. He is the embodiment of Dharma. That is the beauty of Ramayana. We read Ramayana without understanding this. And anybody knows who says this? Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma. Maricha tells this to Ravana. That is the beauty. Ravana goes and asks Maricha to trick Rama. And he said, why do you want to pick up a fight with Rama? Because he might be my enemy, but he is Vigrahavan Dharma. So there are, when you read through Ramayana, there are so many brilliant pointers. Ramayana gives this idea of Mukhya Dharma and Gauna Dharma. That is very important. So when you face a situation, sometimes these dharmas appears to be contradictory. One example, let's say that you are a cop and your wife is driving speeding. As a husband dharma, you have a dharma to protect your wife. As a cop dharma, you have to punish it. So these two dharmas appears to be contradictory. So under any circumstances, if dharmas appears to be contradicting, you need to know what is your mukhya dharma and what is your gauna dharma. And if mukhya dharma is contradicting with gauna dharma, you have to reject the gauna dharma and take the mukhya dharma. So like that, there are beautiful illustrations. So one of the example given is Rama agreed to go to forest. Why? Because Dasharatha was the king. If the situation had opened up after Rama becoming the king, after one day, Rama could not have gone to the forest. Then the priority of the king will take over the priority of the duty of a son. This is brilliantly explained in the Ramayana. So you need to have a skill to understand what is your mukhya dharma and what is your gauna dharma, and follow the mukhya dharma. So this topic of dharma is very big. Yeah, we'll continue to unfold this more and more. Anything else?
Since you mentioned about Ramayana, I just wanted to ask about, a story like Rama is killing Shambhuga, right? So he was actually doing the tapas, and then because of some death happening to
Caste, right?
particular,
Yeah, that is the so-called
Rama going and like killing Shambhuga, right? And
Yeah.
so, I have heard you may, like this Gita, this sloka that you mentioned, Chaturvarnya Maya system. I have actually heard people quoting this story many places. So how we can,
Yeah.
interpret or how we can justify that action?
No, actually, we don't need to justify, right? If Rama did a mistake, we need to say that Rama did a mistake. That is the beauty of our culture. Hey. But here, in this particular context, the popular version or what people used to say is that in the Rama Rajya, one Shudra did the tapas. This Shudra was Shampuka. And since he did the tapas, there was some problem. So Rama went there and killed this Shampuka. Absolutely wrong. Completely wrong. So, what is killing means here? So, what happened? This Shampuka was transformed into a new personality. And if you read that portion of the Ramayana, you will see that Shampuka was worshipping Rama. That's it. So it's a spiritual transition. That is what it is. If you read the original Valmiki Ramayana, it clearly tells he is transformed into a new person. He got enlightened. His ego was gone. He transformed into a saint. That's all it means. There is no physical killing there. I will, since this is a good topic, since you asked, I will put those verses, exact verses from the actual Valmiki Ramayana. This is completely wrong. If that is the case, in Ramayana, I'll just quote two different examples. Rama went to Shabari's ashram. Who was Shabari? Much lower grade than Shampuka. Much lower grade than Shampuka. Right? And in the Valmiki Ramayana, I think I have an echo. Okay. In Valmiki Ramayana, what Rama tells? Who is my greatest devotee? Shabari. And Shabari didn't know which fruit to give to Rama. So you know what she used to do? She used to bite every fruit and give to Rama. And Rama took, okay, this is the best food I have ever got. Absolutely no discrimination. This is what happens is there is some deliberate attempt to show that. And one more thing, right? These stories, Ramayana or all our stories, when you say killing, don't think that it is a physical killing. And we need to understand what type of killing it is. We always talk about this. What is the weapon Lord has? Sudarshanam. And every time when you talk about a killing, you see that the person who got killed comes and prays. It happens with Khara, it happens with Dushna, it happens with everybody. So absolutely, the Shampuka's case was not there. And one more example from Valmiki Ramayana, since that topic came in. So in Rama's country, it was Shatrughna who used to maintain the law and order. So one of the famous discussion, once there is a meeting, it is described in Valmiki Ramayana. So this particular person, Shatrughna, came back and talked to Rama. First question he had was, how is Charvakas doing? Are they protected in this country? Who is Charvakas? Agnostics. So what was his first priority? They should have the freedom to practice what they want in that country. And that is why that country is known as Ramarajya. Now let me tell you the facts. What happens? Sometimes these Ramayana get translated into local vernaculars. So how many translations of Ramayana is there? More than 5,000 versions. And some of these translators may quote certain things wrong. You cannot stamp Rama based on the wrong translation of one of the interpreters. If we have any questions or concerns, we should go back to Valmiki Ramayana or Adhyatma Ramayana of Vyasa and say, then we can accept it. But otherwise, we cannot take it. I can write a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, say that Chaturu Varnyam Maya Srishtam. I created the four caste system. It's not going to happen. That's the problem. See, again, Krishna himself said, Sakale Neha Machasa Yogo Nashta Parantapaha. If you play the game of telephone with 10 people, if this many people here, I can write it and give it. When we start with Rohitji and all the way till the end, I'm 100% sure that the message will be distorted. We always do that in the management circle, this game of telephone. So imagine something transferring from thousands of years. No doubt it will get distorted. So you have to go back to the original teaching and try to make sense. And one more thing. I think Vijay, you remember, right? When we were talking to Swami Sarvapriyananda in person, he said, like, if you think that something is genuinely wrong, reject it. Who said? We are not saying that we should take everything said in the scriptures. If something is not appealing to us, of course, we need to try to understand it. Even after our best effort, if something is not right, reject it. We don't have any obligation to defend Krishna or his teachings. We need to take what is relevant to us, what is valuable to us. That's it. That's how we should be doing.
But we will always say like Rama is actually a embodiment of Dharma or the Ramaraja, right? I mean, like you mentioned that it's kind of like giving moksha to that Shambhuga, but there are actually a lot of other stories in which, I mean, he didn't need to kill someone to give moksha, right? But for this particular story, there is some kind of a caste element is there, and it's depicted in a different way, right?
First of all, Shambhuga was not a Shudra. He was a Charvaka. That's one thing. Second thing is, there was no physical killing involved there. So how does that violate the dharma?
I mean, he used the sword to cut his head, right? I mean, that's what actually I read.
I can refer and check, but in my understanding, it is not a physical killing. I can go back and check the Valmiki Ramayana story, Shambhuka story. I know that he's a Charvaka, and there was a debate. Actually, not at that time, at the beginning, he was doing something wrong. It is not by doing the tapas, but I don't think there was any physical killing. So let me just check. And on the other side, right? Let's say that if it is an act of killing, we don't have to accept that act. That's it. That's what I was telling, right? We just need to be open, and I don't think that is the case. But if that is the case, definitely we should reject that act. Whoever did that, we don't need to defend anybody. We just need to follow the dharma, and we need to do our sadhana.
I think the people, the authors, the so-called intellectual authors, who don't have the intended perspective of these scriptures, they should not attempt to write commentaries on this. Wendy Doniger, for example, she may get 10 PhDs out of Lord Ganesh, for example, but she could never understand what is the purpose of Lord Ganesh, how to get inspired by devoted to Lord Ganesh, right? So they never get outside if they are outside of that religion, right? She may produce 10, 20, 100 PhDs out of that, but she never get what is the purpose of the Lord Ganesh.
Okay, I will go back and check the Shambhuka story. So it kindles some interest in me also. I'll just go back and check.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. go back to Vatmiki Ramayana. So, okay, made a note of it. Anything else? One thing I can tell you, the birth-based caste was misused and abused by a lot of people. There is no doubt about it. And our culture is paying the penalty for that. So never ever just value that, because that is never ever the intention of our culture. A culture which sees everybody, not even the human being, but divinity in everything, cannot discriminate between two human beings. The best verse to support that is going to come in the next chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Who is a Pandita? The one who sees the spiritual giant, a Chandala, a dog, an elephant, and a dog eater. He should see the divinity in them. There is a famous verse on the 5th chapter of the Gita. So it's coming. I forgot that exact verse, but we will see. It's the next chapter. 5th chapter is there. Okay, so with that, we can stop. We can continue next week, chapter 5.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bhunaji or Anu, could you please, Bhunaji, I think left. Anu, could you do the invocation before?
This is the verse, right, Rajesh? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichai Vashvapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Exactly. So he should see all these things sama. So how can you see the differentiation? This is the authentic scriptures. So there's no point in caste or creed or anything. Exactly, I know. So this is 5th chapter, which verse?
5th chapter, 18th verse.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, perfect. So could you please do the invocation, final invocation?
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om.